Hey guys, welcome back to the layout. This is Dan here as always, and we're going to go ahead and do another installment on some recently completed projects of mine. Most of these cars are actually mine, and most of these I got at a train show recently. I was able to attend a large train show down in the city of Columbus, Ohio, and not only did I get to run a few trains on the local club layout, but I was also able to pick up a few cars kind of towards the end of the show. As people were getting to kind of close down, I was able to scrounge on a few good deals on some rolling stock that I was able to pick up dirt cheap pretty much. So most of the stuff is what I got from the train show, but I do have a few cars that I also got on eBay, and we'll go ahead and start the layout update with the two cars that I got on eBay. What we have here is a pair of CRDX Thrall gondolas, and these are Atlas cars, the newer Atlas, I think, Masterline series cars, which I really like. Lately I've been trying to build a small fleet of these gondolas, and I'm trying to keep all the road numbers and road names similar. Like, basically I'm trying to build a small fleet of all CRDX cars to kind of look realistic. Prototypically, when you see gondolas out in the real world in a string, they're usually from the same leasing company like NOKL, for example, or CRDX. And around here, CRDX cars are what I see the most, so I try to kind of aim for mostly CRDX cars. And these ones I got on eBay, like I said, and with these, they're still pretty clean since they're not too old. They're pretty much all refurbished and cleaned up. I think they're pretty new still. And with these, all I really did with them was give them a light grime coat and then did a lot of mud splatter, since that's a common kind of feature on these cars. Along with it, the modern Atlas cars, which are, have these... Well, they have these printed safety stripes, which is nice, but since I kind of like the reflective style, and since that's what I use, I went ahead and changed those out on these cars to the reflective safety stripes, which are made of my reflective tape. So I went ahead and cut strips out and added them, which I think they look cool, especially once you get these all customized. They look nice. But with these, we have CRDX 515 and 510, and pretty much they're both exactly the same. I basically weathered them as close as I could to the real pictures of the cars, and like I said, they're all relatively clean, so I weathered them very lightly and moderately, and they're pretty clean of graffiti too, so you won't see too much graffiti on these cars. So like I said, I kept these simple. These cars, when I got them, came with these scrap metal loads, which is actually made of real scrap metal, and the loads looked fine themselves, but they were a very unrealistic skin tone rust shade. So what I had to do is, before I re-added them to the model, I had to paint them a little bit, and then I followed behind with a little weathering and a little dusty chuck effects to kind of make it look more like real grimy, rusty scrap metal. So they came out pretty good, and then I went ahead and glued them to the inside of the cars before. Before I did that, though, I did add a little extra weight to these cars so that they, track a little better, because I think a little weight helps to, like I said, keep these cars on the tracks a little bit better so they don't fall off. A car like gondolas, and especially flat cars, are usually a little bit more lighter weight than, say, like a box car or a tank car, so it's good to kind of weight these cars down. But anyways, here's the 515, and here's the other side. As you can see, I think they came out nice. I really like these cars. The only interesting thing about them is that they feature these like scale size Atlas couplers, still in their same design of being like a separated coupler design, where it has the two sections of the coupler, as you can see. But instead of using like their regular size coupler, they ended up like basically making this new style of coupler for these, and you really can't change these out since they use like scale size coupler boxes for these, so it makes it a little difficult. But I find that these couplers do work a little well, and they're pretty compatible with McHenry couplers, which is what I use, the scale size anyways, and they look okay. And they also have these air hoses, which is also really nice. So the cars are well detailed, and they have like all the grab irons and stuff, so they're good cars. So here's this side of this one. We'll go ahead and zoom out. That's this one. And then the 510, pretty much the same thing. Safety stripes, weathering, the custom scrap metal load. I made this one look a little bit more rustier, though, to kind of make it look like more freshly scrap metal, where it was recently shredded and it's just starting to rust as it sits inside the car. But it came out pretty good, I think. Especially like the mud splatter on these cars. That's a technique I like to use on these gondolas, since they do get kind of muddy, and like you'll see a lot of mud splatter on these cars in particular, so that's a nice effect to model. But like I said, nothing too crazy on these, still pretty clean. And then on the end you got the kick up and a little more mud splatter. Couplers are nicely weathered, but they look really good. This is a nice pair of them. So these are the two fully loaded cars, and then the next two cars I have are another set, but I'll go ahead and actually show this one first before I show the other two. This is one I also did recently. This is another gondola connection, gondola patched for SMW. This one's number 320472, and as you can see, this one is a little bit more heavily weathered. I used a combination of techniques for it and then added a few tags. The fun part on this car was doing the inside, I think, in my opinion. I had to do several weathering courses, like I said, to kind of get this to look right. I did the wet washes and all that first, and then followed behind with the chalk pestles, and then I went ahead and added a scrap metal base to it. Kind of what's left over of a load after they unload it. There's usually a lot of debris at the bottom of the car, even though they're supposed to clean these out. But in this case, like, you'll see a lot of these cars with a lot of scrap metal lathing still on the bottom of the car, so it's fun to model with these. And that's all real scrap metal that I ground by hand and then glued in place. But the weathering on this car came out pretty good. And here's the other side. Nothing too crazy on this one, but like I said, I just weathered it just like it looked in the photos. So it came out pretty good. Got the reflective safety stripes on that, a few tags, looking pretty good. That's a nice car. There's the ends. The whole underbody is weathered too. I think it came out pretty nice, but that's the SMW car. I got another one of these that I kind of tried to pair it with, but this one came out pretty good, so I like it. Go ahead and set that aside. Now, before I go into the last two cars, this is one I worked on and just finished today. This is a TILX crude oil tank car, and these are ones that I see pretty commonly on my main line over here in Macomb, Ohio. And with these, they're not too dirty, so with this I just kind of weathered it lightly, added the reflective stripes, you know, kept it relatively clean. You can see it's still got quite a bit of sheen to it, so it's relatively new and it's not too dirty. So like I said, I like to model these kind of newer cars in their early forms before they get all dirty, and it's good to model cars like this because you'll see a lot of these out in the real world. And instead of being kind of unprototypical and modeling an all rust bucket manifest, I like to have these relatively cleaner cars in the consoles to kind of make things look more realistic. So that's just my opinion on things. I like to have, like this, like I said, the cleaner cars in my manifests. But this one came out pretty good. Again, I just used some acrylics and some chalk pestles and some other powders and stuff to kind of weather this, and the results came out pretty good, as you can see. Fairly nice car, looks nice. This is another Atlas Masterline series car, I believe, and these look really nice. I got this at the train show again. I think I paid like 20 bucks for this, which was a really nice deal. And along with the tank car, I'll go ahead and show these last two gondolas. I was able to pick up these two gondolas, two more CRDX cars. Now with these, they were the same numbers as the two right here, because Atlas only made 3 numbers in the series, and I have all 3 of them already. With these, I had to renumber them, so what I did was, before I did anything else to these cars, I went ahead and renumbered them. This one's renumbered to 519, and then this one's renumbered to 5002. We'll go ahead and start with this car, because I want to save this one for last, because there's a little more to talk about on this one. With this one, I just kind of did a little bit more heavier of like a mud splatter effect on the side, and then I just grimed it up. You can see I added a replacement wheel to this one. You got the safety stripes, a little bit grimed up a bit. You can see the insides are a little more rustier, so they're a little more banged up, I think, is why that looks like that. But as you can see, compared to, say, a car like this, you can see it's more like a fresher rust color. So that was pretty cool. That came out pretty good. And with this, the inside was done with acrylics as a base, and then I followed behind with the chalks and then the powders to create the rust effects. So that came out pretty good. So there's this side of the car. There's end 1, end 2. And here's the other side. As you can see, I kind of started doing some of the tags on this side. We still got a little ways to go. I still need to kind of finish drawing out some of these and then painting them onto the model. So it's not quite done yet. It's actually not even clear coated yet. That's actually why I'm wearing these rubber gloves right now, because I literally just got done with these cars today out of the weathering booth, and they're not clear coated yet, but I wanted to go ahead and show them while I'm still working on them before I have to go to work here. So that's why I'm wearing the rubber glove, like I said, to kind of keep them protected so I'm not leaving fingerprints or anything on that on the bare finish. So like I said, this car's not quite done yet, but it's getting there. But this is the first car, CRDX 519, so it's coming there. And I'll have to add like a scrap metal base or like lathing to this if I decide to. I might do another kind of load, but I'm not sure. We'll think about that later. We'll go ahead and set that aside though. Now this one was especially cool because I wanted to model one of these particular cars, and I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. This is CRDX 5002, and as you can see, I did all the grime, did the mud splatter, added safety stripes. It's looking good so far. There's the ends. A little bit more kind of rusty, as you can see on this end, than the previous cars. Here's the other end, and then here's the inside of the car, as you can see. Pretty much the same weathering effects as the prior car over here. Like I said, I did these at the same time, so the weathering techniques are pretty much the same on these. And here's my favorite side of the car. As you can see, we have mud splatter, or mud basically caked onto the sides of the car. And I've been seeing a lot of these cars go by lately, and what it is when they are unloaded sometimes, like at a scrapyard, usually the ground around them is pretty muddy. So when tractors and stuff are going through these, a lot of mud splatters on these cars, and especially when they're loading scrap, a lot of times it'll splatter onto the sides. And what happens, in some occasions, you'll see huge quantities of dried mud splattered onto the sides of these cars. So with this one, what I did was I tried to model one of those cars. And it came out pretty good. What I did for the mud splatter techniques, and basically the mud all caked onto the sides there, as you can see, it has a little bit of texture to it too. What I did was I took a little bit of white acrylic and then a little bit of gray and mixed in just a touch of yellow, and then mixed in a ton of baking soda for the texture effects. And then went ahead and started dabbing it on the sides of the car in about 1 or 2 layers, and then followed behind with actually splattering the rest of it onto the side of the car, just like the real thing. So the mud splatter on this side came out awesome, I think, and it looks really cool. I really like it. And there's the inside of the car. You can see starting to kind of wash down a little bit. As you can see, it's kind of starting to streak a little, but it came out really cool, and I really like it. So this is one of my favorite cars right now, but like I said, with these 2 cars, I still need to get the loads on the inside, and then they'll be done. So these are works in progress, but so far I'm liking them. They're coming out really good. So we'll go ahead and set these aside. Now, I wanted to show these cars because these are also ones that I got at a train show that I went with a friend anyways, and he wanted me to weather these cars for him. So what I want to do with these, or what he wants me to do with them, is to put the safety stripes on them and then weather them. So what I have here is, like, for example, an Atlas Reading and Northern car. I got this old short line box car. Got an old DM&E car. One of the old Trinity hoppers. These are still pretty popular. And then I got a UP box car, another short line car, and then one of these classics, Kook Industries Trinity covered hopper here. These are all really nice. It's actually an FMC car, excuse me. But all these need to be weathered, and then I have to add safety stripes to them, so I'll work on that later on, but for now they're kind of just sitting on the sidelines, kind of waiting to work. And I need to look up some prototype photos for these particular cars as well before I can get started on them. So these will be, I might show these a little later once I get them done, but for now they're just going to sit on the sidelines for a little while. Okay, so moving on to a few locomotive projects. I got the first one here, recently announced from Athearn. If you've seen my first locomotive review, I did the review of the Iowa, Chicago, and Eastern GP40-2s that Athearn released in the Genesis line. I recently got mine done, and I was able, with that unit, I was able to create one of the HLCX units that was recently done and put into lease service on CSX. This particular unit is HLCX 4211, and as you can see, it's a real grime bucket, and I basically modeled this right down to every last detail on the real unit. Currently, the real HLCX 4211 is staged in Fostoria, Ohio, used in local service on the 8794 local, the CSX local in Fostoria, Ohio. So I've had a lot of chances to go up and see the real unit in action. I've been able to take a multitude of photos of it and get a lot of good prototypical information and like I said, a lot of photos of it. So I was able to accurately render this model. And the Athearn Genesis model is pretty detailed out of the box, but I had to make a few modifications to this particular unit for it to look right. Since the 4211 is a little bit different than all the others, I had, like I said, I had to modify a few things. I'll go ahead and start from the front here. To begin with, I basically did all the weathering on this, re-detailed the plow. You got the working ditch lights on the front, which is nice. I did all the work on the nose, patched it up, just like the real thing. I did the new number boards on the front, added the K5 and a few antennas on the top. I repainted the AC unit. Like I said, all the details on the front, all that. And then as we move on to the side, you can see it's nicely weathered. Did a little detailing on the truck. You got the waste retention tank on the fuel tank. Something that most of these ICE units have and retained even into their HLCX lease service days. And basically the Athearn Genesis units right out of the box look nice, but for this particular unit I had to modify it slightly to create the HLCX version of this unit, and in the process I also renumbered it too. The first thing that I did, I really started from the front kind of, and worked my way kind of from the front to the back. All the detailing on the front was kind of redone a little bit. I was able to reuse the plow and the MU cables, but the coupler bars were redone. Got the MU jumper, the working ditch lights, all the patching was done on the nose. All kinds of work to the top of the cab. I got the new number boards on there. Like I said, I had to renumber this unit as of the prototype. And I basically redetailed the trucks a little bit. You got the sanding lines on the trucks there, the new ones. Since the ones that come on the Athearn Genesis models aren't connectable to the trucks, I went ahead and added my own made from rubber wire. So they actually, you know, they can rotate on the trucks and they're not going to snap off, which is nice. So everything on this is, like I said, modified and touched up a little bit. I had to strip all the high hood lettering off. That was probably the hardest part of the project. And it took me a little while, but I was able to get all the lettering and all that off, and then including on the cab too and the number boards. So that was probably the most time-consuming part of it, but like I said, I just weathered it and detailed it as of the prototype photos of the real 4211. You got the waste retention tank back there, which is a scratch-built piece. Again, some nice detail on it. There's the top. All this was pretty much stock. The AC unit, though, had to be relocated, and I repainted that as well. And as of the prototype, I added a K5LA, which is also prototypically correct for this unit. It used to have a P5, but at some point in time it was replaced with a K5 up here on the cab, so that looks pretty cool. It came out okay. And then I added the antennas on this side, as you can see. Pretty much the same thing, but it came out pretty good. I'm happy with it. I think it looks nice. This is the straight DC model, so I'll have to go in there and add a DCC chip to it. I'll probably get another Tsunami sound decoder for it and rig it up for DCC operations so I can take advantage of those nice lighting effects, but that'll be in the future. And I just recently got this done, so it's kind of been sitting aside right now until I could get some photographs of it to put on my Facebook page. So I thought you guys would like the opportunity to go ahead and see it in advance before I post it on Facebook, so it'll kind of give you a little opportunity to see it ahead of time here in this little video. So on this other side, really the same thing, just weathered it. And again, I was using a lot of prototype photos to get the weathering just right, and I think it came out pretty dang close to the real thing. So it looks pretty good. See all that nice grime and stuff. Especially on the walkways, they're nice and grimy. It came out pretty good. And then as we move to the back high hood, most of this had to be redetailed. And I did the new number stencils on the high hood. I had to strip the old ones off, obviously, and redecal those. And then I redid the ditch lights. I added the pilot mounted, or not the pilot mounted, but rather the anti-climber mounted ditch lights on the top of the walkway, which I had to scratch build. Since there's no current castings available, I had to scratch build those and add them. But like I said, I added new coupler bars. I got the knuckle brackets on the locomotive, and then you got the MU jumper, which is hanging over the coupler. It's kind of like a sloppy way of when they disconnect the locomotives. Instead of coupling it the other end of the MU receptacle into like the dummy receptacle, they just leave it kind of hanging over the coupler like this. So it's kind of cool to model that, and I like that look. But overall, the unit came out pretty good, and I like it. Currently, it's not quite done yet. Like I said, I still need to add the DCC system to it, but for now, it looks pretty good, and I'm happy with it. So I'll definitely be making some more of these, and I actually got another locomotive to show while we're on the topic of the HLCX, XICE, and IC and GP40s. I got another one right here. This one was sent to me by a customer. He wants me to patch this one to HLCX 4210, and so I'll pretty much have to do exactly what I did to this unit, or exactly what I did on this unit to this unit. So it'll be a little work in progress, so I gotta get started on this pretty soon, but for now it's kind of just sitting aside until I can get some photos gathered up of the unit, then I'll get started. But pretty much for this one, I'll probably have to do exactly the same like I did for the 4211, basically re-decal the entire thing. But it looks pretty good right out of the box. It's kind of actually an interesting comparison. You can kind of compare the two right out of the box compared to the one that's been heavily modified. Another unit I just recently got is this big CEFX SD40M-2. This is number 3116, and this is actually a unit I got for $20. It was custom painted by another guy, but I happened to get it from a friend who didn't want it anymore, so I was able to buy it for $20, which was really nice. And for a unit like this, it was already custom painted and semi-detailed a little bit, but basically what I got when I first got this unit. I started realizing that it had a few problems. There were a few inaccuracies, and I realized that some of the painting and stuff weren't exactly too great. So I had to do a lot to this thing to kind of make it look a little more prototypically accurate to the real 3116, which is still in service. As you can see, it's an XSP unit, so I kind of tried to make it look more like the real 3116. The guy, when he modeled it, he got it relatively close, but there was still room for improvement. So that's basically what I did. A lot of the old details, I pretty much, well, I'll go into this real quick. Pretty much on this unit, I had to start from the ground up, remove all the old details, and just basically completely re-detail this thing. So you got a brand new plow on the front, all that's brand new, all the ditch lights, the coupler bars, and receptacles, all that's brand new grab irons, etc. A lot of paint got touched up, and again, of course, I did all the weathering and stuff. On the roof, you can see you got the plate for where the AC unit went. You got a new air line running to the dynamic brakes, new antennas, all that was added. And then on the side here, really an overall grime coat. I tried to make this look like the real deal. In the pictures that I modeled of this unit, it was relatively grimy, so I tried to portray that really with a lot of acrylic washes and a lot of powder and pastel weathering. So the trucks are inaccurate, though. That's the only thing. Well, I can't say that they're 100% inaccurate. It's the correct style of flexi-coil truck, but the type that the CEFX unit has is the one with the open and exposed bearing caps. So Athearn recently announced the SD50s, and they have the correct open bearing cap flexi-coil trucks. So what I'll probably do is later on, I'll probably get a new pair of those flexi-coils and replace these, since these are the stock ones that came with the model. But that'll be a little project for later. Basically, I finished all the fuel tank detailing. I added the waste retention tank back there, which we'll see in a minute, and basically re-weathered the thing. I added a new horn to the top, a new replacement fan, just like the real thing. As you can see, came out pretty good, I think, so far. On the back end, this is probably where most of the work went. The entire back end was just completely wrong. For one, the nose light package was mounted way too low. It literally came down to, if I can point it out, the nose light came about down to here, literally on the high hood, which is way, way, way too low and is very highly inaccurate for this unit. So what I had to do is I had to remove the old nose light, or not the nose light, but rather the backlight package. Since this is an SP unit, I had to remove it, and I had to do a lot of body work to it to kind of fill in like all the edges and all the cracks from where it used to be. And I was able to reinstall the casting after it was cut down and sanded a little bit, and then I re-added the casting and then basically primed and painted all this again and re-decaled it. So that was quite a bit of work. I also had to do all the grab irons on the back, which is a major time-consuming process, but it was well worth it because in the end it looks really nice. And the paint matching came out pretty good too, since that was probably another hard part of this, was trying to paint match the blue to the original blue that came on the model. But on the back end here, you can see all the nice details are added. I did all that by hand. And then on this side, pretty much the same thing. I also did the reflective safety stripes on the sill, just like the real unit. I placed them right where they were on the real unit. You can see on the cab I had to do a little paint touch-up, and I added a new sunshade and a new reverse mirror to it as well, and then just a few other little things here and there, like I said, but just to make it look a little more accurate. But for $20, it was definitely a nice little restoration project, and the unit runs really well, but it still needs to be DCC equipped, so I'll have to get, like I said, some more decoders later on. There's the waste retention tank on the back, another nice detail that I like to add to these units. But that's pretty much the CEFX 3116. It came out pretty good. I'll have some videos of this up and running when it's done. But for now, it's pretty well getting there. So I'll go ahead and set these aside for now. Pretty much at this point, that's pretty much everything that I've been working on lately. But I'll go ahead and show you guys some things that I'll be selling here pretty soon. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I have some things that I'll be selling to kind of get out of the way that I don't really use much anymore. And to start, I have the HLCX 6337. This is the HLCX SD40R that I did several years back. The paint on it wasn't that great, but I was able to weather it and kind of blend everything together. And after a multitude of details were added, it came out pretty good. But like I said, over time, I just kind of got tired of it, and I don't really use it much anymore, so I'll just go ahead and just sell it to someone who can actually use it. I'll probably end up remaking this unit later on with probably the better and improved Athearn Genesis SD40. So that's probably what I'll do in the future. But like I said, this unit will be for sale. It's pretty much ready to go. All you need to do is add a DCC decoder, and it's pretty much ready to go. But like I said, I really spent a lot of time on it trying to get it to look right, and I got it as close as I could to the real 6337, which I've now seen several times. But the unit looks really good, and I'm happy with it. But like I said, it's just one that I don't use much anymore and might as well get out of the way. It's all correct, though, for the SP unit. You got the replacement P3, which they recently added to this unit. It used to have a K5, which is what I modeled it. But recently it got a P3, and I had to change that casting around to a P3, so it's prototypically correct. Obviously, the entire back end's been modified to look like an SP unit. And you got all the nice details in the back as well. Here's this side of the unit. Again, looking really, really nice. But like I said, this unit will be going up on eBay pretty soon. I'll probably post some more pictures of it on Facebook when I get my camera worked on and fixed. And it'll be going on eBay here pretty soon. But I want to go ahead and give you guys the opportunity to look at this stuff ahead of time. That way, if there's anyone personally interested in it, you have the option. You can get on Facebook and PM me if you're really interested. In any of the stuff that you see, you can PM me on Facebook, Dan's Custom Trains, Daniel Arnold, and you can let me know if you're interested. So this is the first unit that'll be going up for sale, like I said, HLCX 6337. We'll go ahead and set this aside. Another unit that I'll be selling is the CSX 8815. This is a locomotive that I also did along with 8888. I don't really use this one too much, but that's why I decided to sell it. As you can see, I did a lot of detailing to the front. You got the ditch lights, the MU receptacles, the new plow. Basically re-detailed to look exactly like the 8815 prior to its repainting to YN3. So all the field take details are applied. The K5LA was remounted to look correct. You got the whiplash antenna on the cab roof. It's been nicely weathered, as you can see. A really, really nice model, fully accurate. You got the reflective safety stripes on the sill, just like the real thing. And then on the back end, you can see you got the snow plow, the MU receptacles. All that's done. Looks really nice. Just a grimy old YN2 SD40 now. Ex-Conrail unit. Excuse me, ex-Conrail unit. Looks nice. So there's this side, as you can see. But again, this unit will also be going up for sale, so if you're interested in that, PM me. I might be able to work something out with you guys. This one is also equipped with the DCC decoder, so it's pretty much ready to go. Alright, and along with those two pieces of rolling locomotives, I also got some rolling stock to sell. This first car is an older Atlas CSX car. This is one of the kind of more uncommon CSX cars, one of the coal cars that was declassified and basically re-promoted for scrap service. And as you can see, I added a scrap metal load to this and tried to represent all the damage and scraping on the side, added a few tags. This is one of the older cars out of my collection that I did a while back that I'm just going to kind of sell off. So it'll probably go for cheap. I'm not really looking for too much on it, but it's priced to sell, and I just kind of would like to get it out of the way to someone who can kind of use it, since I don't really do much with it anymore. Like I said, a little bit of weathering, all based on prototype photos. You got the scrap load in there, which is all real scrap metal. It looks pretty good. So this car looks nice. So again, if you guys are interested in that, please contact me ahead of time. I might be able to make a deal with you. Another car I have for sale is one that I recently worked on. This is one of the CNW cars. This is the straight CNW car, though. I like this car enough, but at the same time I kind of wish I went back and patched it, but I just like the weathering enough that I didn't really want to change it. So at this point in time, I guess I'll just go ahead and sell it and make a new one later on, since I don't really need these at the moment. But with this car, you can see I did all the grain spill on the side. You got a few hand-drawn tags. The safety stripes are done. The Chicago Northwestern Planet logo is really beat up, just like the real pictures. Looks pretty good. You got the replacement hatch there, painted a rusty brown color. Nice weathering on the top. There's the ends with the kick-up, as you can see, that nice kick-up effects. Looks nice. And then on this side, you got a semi-bigger tag here, and then you can see you got the primer spots where they put the safety stripes over the graffiti. And that came out pretty good. You can see a little bit more grain streaking on this side. Another nice car. I won't ask too much for this one either. It's a nice car, and it's priced to go. So, like I said, if you guys want that one, also contact me. And then this last car I have is a Wisconsin Central box car. It's an older Atlas car. And with this one, I just lightly weathered it. You can see I did all the fading effects on the roof to kind of oxidize the metal a little bit. I did the grime and the rust. You can see it's kind of streaking down the sides now, as you can see. You got the safety stripes. Minimal weathering, no graffiti. Like I said, I wanted to keep this car clean. Kind of kind of modeled it kind of in the early 2000s, like 2004, 2005, so it was still relatively clean in active service. So it's weathered and it'll be priced to go as well. Here's the other side. You can see it's a little bit more heavy on this side of the effects of the weathering, kind of streaking down the side. And this is probably my favorite part right here. That came out really nice. The doors are all weathered up. Looks really nice. So, like I said, these 3 cars right here, these will all be going up for sale. So, if any of you guys are interested in these, you can give me a shout out on here on YouTube, or you can message me on Facebook. I'll be I'll be happy to sell them to you guys if you want. If not, I'll go ahead and just put them on eBay later on. But for now, that's pretty much it, like I said. So there's some stuff for sale. Like I said, if you guys are interested, be sure to contact me. But at this point in time, that pretty much wraps up this video. And I'll have some more projects coming soon. Like I said, I'll keep you guys posted on these cars right here once I get them going. And then I'll keep working on this future HLCX unit. I'll have another video up pretty soon when all this is done. But for now, like I said, thanks for watching, guys, and take care.